We're back! A dinosaur story.
Hi, guys.
This show's not about dinosaurs, by the way. It's not.
No, I thought it was
Michael.
a reference.
Is who?
I thought it was a reference to something, like some movie that I, again, missed. But anyway.
You're my reference.
Okay.
You are. We're back, a dinosaur story. I think it's a movie. I've never actually seen it. But anyways, We're back. We were off last week. We never take a week off, but we have returned. I hope you missed us because we missed you. And we love doing this show. We love talking about society, life, mental health, addiction, losing weight, gaining weight, wisdom, education, empowerment, society, all that stuff, culture. We're here for you.
Yes, we are.
Isn't that true?
Yeah. You know what? I didn't think we needed the break, but boy, it just kind of was nice to have a Sunday night off. It was good.
How about that, huh?
So thank you guys.
We haven't always been on Sunday either, though. We were on Tuesdays.
Yeah, but it's always like, you're always like have that one night. Like for you, you're completely set up. So it's nice. You can kind of like, but it's like get the lighting out, get the green screen out, get the like do all the things for it. So it's just kind of nice not like to be able to have a night or a week, I guess, that we don't do it. So anyway, come on.
Can you see all that?
No, we can't see it.
Really?
Your poor sunburn.
It's pouring. There's skin all over the desk right now.
Ew.
Wow.
Ew.
Anyways, I was just, I got sunburned, so I was just rubbing my head. You know, you ever get a sunburn on your head? It's not fun. But this show's not about sunburns. It's about me and Leanne talking about mental health. That's what the show is about. And by the way, hey, Ed, I know Ed missed us. Ed, hey!
Hey, Ed.
Hi, Ed. The book club Monday night will be back in business tomorrow night. Continuing on with Wayne Dyer's. We were promised it, but it starts... You'll see it when you believe it. I always try to make up the title as close as I can. I don't know what I was going to say. We were promised it, but we hopefully get it. I don't know.
You always have a new one.
I do.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're doing Wayne Dyer's Seeing is Believing.
You'll see it when you believe it. Very close.
It's a magic show. Seeing is Believing. No, in fact, I talked to a guy today on Twitter privately. Talked about our book club. He might join us soon. So
nice.
He said he's sending me a book. So shout out to Nick on Twitter. Nice to meet you. Nice to talk to you. I didn't even ask him to do this, but he's going to send me a book for free that he has.
Like of this book?
No, not this book, but a book.
Nice. Thanks, Nick.
Book. Yeah, it's really nice of Nick to do that. And it's a book by Action Bronson. Remember what that is?
Yes. Yeah.
Who is that?
He's the guy that was interviewed. I don't know what he does. Is he like a rapper or something? Is that who he is?
Yes, he's a hip hop artist. That's true.
Hip hop artist, yes. I was introduced to him when he was on Rogan's podcast.
Good.
Yeah,
you're nailing it. Look at you.
Yeah,
I'm very impressed right now. Well done.
Yeah.
You called it. I didn't know you know his name off the top of your head.
I was really, really impressed by him. Like both of them together was a really good podcast. That's what got us to do we did the talk on the 4 Agreements because they ended up bringing that up, which was super cool. My favorite book. So yeah, but I didn't know he wrote a book.
He sure did.
Nice.
So I want to say first, thanks to everybody who liked the video I posted this week. My 6-year anniversary of getting out of my first drug rehab, which was on the 15th, June 15th. That was back on Tuesday. So that was very cool. We got a great response. We had like 7,000 views. So thanks everybody for supporting that and saying, that it really inspired. I'm not trying to be, some guy who is tooting his own horn here. There's a lot of people are constantly telling me, like every day on Twitter and online, like, you really inspire me, and I'm really glad you're out there. You do so much to break down stigmas and talk about mental health. It means so much to everybody, or at least I don't think it's virtue signaling either. I think people that generally say things to me like it means a lot to them. People don't even know me. They take time out of their day to pop in and message me and like, you know what, that was really amazing, man. I really, really appreciate that. So
that's awesome. That's what it's all about. That's why you do it. That's why we do it.
That's why we wanted to do this show. Absolutely. you're totally 100% correct. And that is so great. So wonderful. Makes me happy. And I hope it keeps on going because I'm not going to change. I don't know. Are you going to change?
Well, yes, of course I'm going to change.
You are?
Yeah, but I'm going to still be here. Yeah, I still love this, but I'll keep growing. Yeah.
Oh,
you probably will too.
Well, I mean, anything's possible. I mean, it certainly is. But back to the book. So,
okay.
Action Bronson's book. So Nick Z on Twitter at NZanyBonnie93. That's him. So Nick Z just messaged me after I said something about Action Bronson's book because I saw a picture of Action Bronson recently.
What's his book on? Is it like a cookbook? Or is it like a
Isn't he
a big
I haven't read it. So
he's a big cook too. He's a chef or something.
He loves food. I know that.
Nobody's a legit cook.
Yeah, no, he had a whole show about cooking food as a chef. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
But like if some of it was great and amazing and some of it was unhealthy, obviously. Things didn't really always go his way, I guess is what I mean to say. So he ate too much and he put too much junk into him. And the book is called Fuck It, I'll Start Tomorrow. A true story.
First day of the rest of our lives. Oh, I love it.
Yeah. So it just came out in April and Nick is sending it to me. So thanks, Nick. That's very cool of you. That's such a random thing. And people say, Twitter's a cesspool and it's a terrible place, but really good things happen on Twitter. And it happened to me. It happens to me all the time. It's what I make of it.
Yes. As is life.
Really? Oh, I don't know about that.
Yes, absolutely. Come on.
I'm kidding. Yes. I'm just joking, folks. But look at this picture. Look at Action Bronson. Oh, whoa.
Wow. That's a lot going on there.
Look at that.
Wow. Good for him.
He's changed. I truly was questioning if this was him on the right. For those of you on the podcast, we're looking at a comparative photos of Action Bronson on the left and then the new Action Bronson on the right after, he's lost, not only lost a lot of weight, but he's gotten into shape.
Mm-hmm.
So,
damn.
Very good. Good for him.
Yeah, and if you guys are listening to the podcast, you can head on over, right, to YouTube, and you can find us and watch the video of it, and you could see that. That was incredible. Wow,
hey, good marketing move there, Leanne. Nice work.
Well, I just know that if I was listening to the podcast and that came up, I'd be like, oh my gosh, how do I find the photo? That's how you found the photo.
Ed says, who doesn't love food? Of course, Ed knows about that. Yes, yeah. Ed's in our book club. And we never knew Ed, but now we know Ed and he's in our book club and he's our friend. We're friends now. And that's why if Nick comes to our book club, the other thing he told me, by the way, that I want to mention is Nick said, you got to read Matthew McConaughey's new book. And that's why I was like, oh, dude, we just did that in the book club. And that's how I led into that conversation.
Cool.
Because we just did Green Lights.
Yes. That's so good. And happy Father's Day, Ed, and to all of the fathers listening and our fathers. And
happy
Josh.
Father's Day, Dad. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Josh, you here?
Mm-hmm.
Happy Father's Day, Josh. If you're a father, 2 times over.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, let's get in the show then. So don't forget, the book club's at 8 p.m. Eastern every Monday night. We can give you the Zoom link whenever you want it, anytime you want it. You can jump in anytime. There's no barriers. There's no restrictions. Come join us. We want to learn from you, and you will learn from us. The book club is it's not a fiction club. We try to, it's not focused on one thing, but it's about learning better ways forward, learning from others, things we don't know about. We're just trying to learn, but
shared wisdom, education, and empowerment. That's what the book club's all about.
There you go.
Right?
That's it. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll do a McConaughey book, then we'll do Wayne Dyer, and then we'll do somebody else. We've done a lot of different books, but it is nonfiction and about learning, wisdom, and education and empowerment, as Leanne said. There's Josh. Hey, Josh. What's up, buddy?
Happy Father's Day, bud.
I knew he was in there somewhere.
Yes.
So let's get to the main point of the show. Today's show is about family therapy and family systems. Really, it's not about family therapy so much as how do your family systems work? How does your family's system work? Because every family is a system, and it has people in it, and those people have relations. So it's a system functioning through all these communication points, and there's reactions, and there's forms that develop, and in a lot of ways they happen in these triangles. So this is something that is specific to what is called Bowen's family systems. So this is a theory about applying it to familial relations. And I remember my brother Matt, who's been on the show many times, and he'll be back soon. I know he will. He's hanging out in Ludington right now, and he'll be back on this show when it's nice and convenient for him. And we'll make sure to get him on the show because we love having him.
Yes, we do. He's so good.
But I remember him talking about this stuff because he's a counselor now, many years, and I'm training my master's in clinical mental health counseling. So I'm going through a family therapy class, I guess is what it's called. It's family therapy. And I remember him talking about all the things that I'm learning about now. And it makes it even more poignant and pops right into my head because I do listen to him when he talks to me. And I remember him making these points about these triangular relationships that happen in families and emotional reactivity, which is it's a term for how we relate to things, and differentiation. Differentiation meaning, how is Leanne's experience and my experience different in our own families in terms of the type of person we want to find as a mate. So we are dating, we're together, and there's a common ground usually where people of similar levels of differentiation will find each other because based on their familial experiences, which is interesting stuff too.
What do you mean?
No.
So
what's happening? Where are we?
No, but so explain. Like, do you mean like if I came from a divorced family and you came from a divorced family, there's a better chance that we'll be together? Or is it the way that the system works? Like, just it doesn't matter if they're divorced or married, how they communicate it, like communication style? Or what does it mean?
Well, differentiation can be applied to a lot of different things. Like self-differentiation is one thing, where you're trying to branch out into the world, maybe separate yourself from your own family, but you are still part of the family, but you distance yourself because you're trying to create your own identity and find your own experience in this world. And you might end up finding like-minded people similar to that level of differentiation that you get to from your personal perspective. You know what I mean?
Kind of, yeah.
I mean, I'm still learning about it too, so I'm not an expert by any means. You know, sometimes it can be difficult to know what to do when someone we care about is going through something, you know? And we've talked about this on the show often. It's always been something that comes up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you might think advice is, about being selfish, or maybe you're trying to offer a piece of advice that you think is good, or maybe you might think it's bogus. And we get a lot of advice from a lot of people in our lives. So I think it's important to understand some of the terms and understand what we're talking about so that we can have a clear discussion when it comes to family functions and family communication. I mean, your family probably communicates in their own way, right? You guys all have your own lingo with each other, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, all families do, not most. I mean, every family does, whether it's something they are proud of or not, or, some families have communication routines that they're not proud of and that are probably bring up shame or sadness, but they don't want to talk about it. So.
And so does this whole, like, all these theories and stuff, does this work just for like blood relations, or does this work for like community relations?
Extended families and
extended, does it work for like, how like people have like they'll make their own family, not relation at all, but they're very close, like this is my core kind of thing, but they're not actually family, but they work together all the time as a system? Would it work the same way?
Well, I mean, it's a system. I don't know if it's a family system, but a family system can be defined however you want it to be. If they're a part of your upbringing, they're part of your semi-regular environment, then they could still be a part of your system. Your system is interdependent of someone else's, so it could be connected to the people that they work with and they consider family, but that could also be a separate system for somebody else. It gets very complicated very quick because all of these are systems.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't want to make it too complex, but family systems therapy, the theory of family systems. It's about thinking of your family as a unit.
Mm-hmm.
That much is clear, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have a unit, or at least I have a unit. I had a unit when I grew up. But our unit was very dysfunctional. Because parents got divorced at a young age when I was 5 or 6. So that's going to be a challenge, but it's still a unit. But the system and the communication routines and the overall routines that the family starts to develop creates a lasting impact. And that's why people go to family systems therapists, because they are they know something's wrong, but they may not be sure what it is. They might think it is. They might think, hey, I got a son who's acting out in school, right? Behavior problems, right? But really, it might be because the parents or the partners are arguing and fighting all the time. Like, as soon as you sit them down, you might start to talk and be like, okay, so what's been going on? You get everyone's opinion. You have the whole family there, by the way, too. Not just the parents or the kids. You have all of them.
Smart.
So if you had 2 kids, you'd be the parents and 2 children. And you would ask them all what's going on from everyone's perspective. And you would see how they're acting, how they're behaving when they're there. And the child, depending on age, could be behaving different ways. They could be shy. They could be trying to distract. Those are tools that children will do if they feel like they're not comfortable in a situation yet. And the bottom line here is what people think is wrong might not be what's wrong at all. If you have a marital relationship that is just filled with fights and screaming matches, and it comes from a generation before you too. If somebody has a mom that disagrees with how the other dad or mom does something, like all these things happen all the time. They've happened for generations, and the generational influence also impacts these systems. And to think that they don't is quite absurd. We're talking grandparents, even great grandparents. I mean, it goes back, and those traditions and things that are learned from the past system even though it's a new system, it's an extension of that system from grandparents to the next generation. It all lingers, and it all has an impact.
So this is a good, a lot of people, when they're in relationship or when they're in marriages, but they have children, and they say that we're just going to stick it out until the kids are old enough. Yeah. This is probably like a good type of therapy for them to go into. So then they realize that maybe the dysfunction that you guys are creating, that your kids can feel, maybe it's not the best idea to keep it up until they're 18 or 19.
Yeah. But then they still might not. Who knows how stubborn they are, or if they're not willing to see it from a different angle. They can be told one thing. It's that's why a counselor's job is so difficult. You have to be able to, gain everyone's trust in a family therapy situation. Gaining everyone's trust it's not. They're not all the same people. They all have different routines and personalities and comfort levels. And you have to get the trust of all of them in order to create change. So
what do they say? Do you know what's the best, or like what's the kind of protocol that works the best? Is it to have, and I don't know if you know this yet, but is it best to have like...
I know everything.
Yes. Okay. Of course you do. So is it good to have like the parents in first to discuss like what they're thinking, and then have the kids separate, and then bring them all in as a family, or bring them all in the first time as a family? Or does it depend on the family? Or
well, I guess I don't know as an absolute. I don't have an absolute, like every counselor has different style, and every theory can be applied in different ways. So there's no absolutes here. But it seems from the family systems theory that you want to have everybody at once, so you can see how everyone is acting, and more information, the better. In fact, there's these things you create. There's these tools that you can create. And I actually sat down and did this. I did my own example. It's called a genogram. Genogram, like GENO, genetics, genogram. And I made one for class, but I also tried to really think about it. And you're supposed to have it's a map of your family, but it's supposed to have all these symbols mixed in as you make like kind of a family tree, but you have all these symbols that you can put in there to show, married, divorced, fractured relationships, graduated college, anything you can come up with, all these little symbols, and you make your own key in the map, and then you apply them, Catholic, Jewish, all these things that define us. And the more information you get, the more helpful it is to counselor to understand. And you could have each person in the family make their own, or have the family make one together. And it's very interesting what certain people might not put and what others would put, and how they would define these relations. Going back to grandparents, and if there's no grandparent, if it's a step family, all that stuff too, mixing in the step parents and their family, and you tie it all back, and who's got substance use disorder issues in the past now, all these things. So it's an interesting tool. It's kind of fun. I had all these Sharpie markers. Look, I got them all right here. They're all on the floor. See? Look at all these colors I got. So
That's awesome. I love this part of school.
I put them all to use. You can't see the green one, though. It's funny. Look at that.
Oh, look at that. That's so cool.
So, yeah, I put them all to use.
Oh, that's neat.
Josh, you were on there because, you're my brother. And Rebecca was on there. Hi, Rebecca. And Jameson and Nick, of course. The whole family, Josh, was there. The whole new family. So, yeah, that's kind of how that stuff works. There's a lot of different ways. There's maps you can make that can really enlighten you, even yourself. I was kind of surprised, like, I'm writing this out. This is interesting. Ed says, Mike, what you are referring to reminds me why it's not helpful to blame our parents for anything. They too are influenced by their parents, grandparents, etc. My challenge is parenting my son helps me understand family dynamics. It's not helpful to blame our parents for anything. I mean, I don't know. That's like an absolute. There's some reasons that you can not blame. Blame's a bad word, but I think more than anything, we should be honest about what's going on. Not pointing blame, but rather identifying the symptoms, That's important. And you're right. It's a combination of all these generational repetitions. These things all fall. Who I am today, Leanne, who you are today, Leanne, it's the result of the generations before us that got us to this point. It is. And a lot more than we probably realize, because, all my grandparents are long gone now, so I don't have any access to. There's a lot of questions I would have loved to ask them that I never got to ask them, and I'll never know what the truth is, and how much more I might be like one of their siblings who are, whatever those are. What are those? What do you call those? Great? No, that's not great. They're just granduncles. Is there granduncles? Is that a thing?
Great uncles, isn't it?
Why would it be great, though? It's still grand. Because it'd have to be great.
Granduncle.
Yeah, nobody ever says granduncle, right?
Yeah, it jumps right to great. Yeah, good point. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyways, this is not important. What is important is
squirrel.
It's the First Day Podcast, and we're talking about family systems theory and how our little systems work.
Yeah, when we were gonna. Oh, go ahead. What does Ed have to say?
What were you gonna say?
I was going to say that it was interesting because I started looking into it a little bit for the show. And then I was like, I'm just going to let Mike explain it. And then we can just talk about it. But I was also thinking of like the book that we're doing right now. And the chapter that we're doing is called Oneness. And it's all about how we are So you can look at life like with a telescope or with a microscope to see that we're all connected. Either way you do it, the further that you step back and you look at the entire world, you can see that you're just one piece of the whole puzzle, or vice versa. You can look inside with a microscope and see that like every cell in your body contains you, like your DNA and all of that. And so all of those little pieces are all a piece of your whole being. And so we're totally, totally connected. So then I was thinking, oh, well, when you talk about a family, I guess with these theories, it's actually talking about who's in your home. I guess that's kind of what they're talking about, and then extended to who your parents were in their home. But we're all connected. So we're all kind of family, and how we all communicate with each other. So would they be this similar or no? Very different. Like any of these systems that you're talking about of like how you communicate and these triangles that you make of how you work with people, would that be something that because we're all connected, then like mothers can relate to other mothers, fathers can relate to other fathers and have similar systems, like you can connect?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
You can relate to somebody.
I understand what's happening.
What do you mean? Oh, of course you do.
Okay,
you know
so let's go. Yeah, okay. So
you're saying can other mothers
like, so what is the
parents?
system? So is the system just getting together to see that as a family, you're connected. So you're not, even though you're individual, you're the child, the parents, and everybody has their individualism, they're still interconnected. And so their thinking, their reasoning, everything is influencing each other. Is that kind of what the system explains and is talking about?
Yeah, you're not free of the system, even if you think you're like a massive rebel and like, oh, I don't pay attention to my family. I'm totally free from them. I do whatever I want. No, you've already been the product of that system if you're grown up.
You know, okay. So I'm going to tell a story it was very, very interesting to me. So my dad left his family. He came to live with his uncle. They lived in Prince Edward Island, and he came to live with his uncle in Windsor when he was like, I don't know, 18 or something like that. And him and his buddy got on their motorcycles, and they came to Ontario, and they stayed in Windsor. And then he stayed in Windsor for the rest of his life. Like we've lived here for, and he's 73. Well, my grandfather passed away. Oh my gosh, now it's got to be like 7 years ago, maybe longer. Anyway, we went back to the house, to like my grandfather's house, and it wasn't where he was born, and he had never like really, even when we visited granddaddy, we never really went into his basement or did any of these kinds of things. So my dad would never know how my grandfather was living. And when he went downstairs to the basement, it was incredible. His entire basement was set up exactly the way my father's is. So they had the exact same tool, like the little pegboard tool thing, all set up exactly the same way. On the like beams of the basement, they had like nails that they put all of their hats. Everything was identical. It looked like, I think they had the same toolbox. It was really interesting that it was exactly the same way, even though they had never talked about it. They never saw it. They never sent pictures or did anything like that. But it was still like, I don't know if it was because they never really had a stationed home. He was in the war, so like in the army. So he was going from place to place. So he never would have picked up on that, but he was still like a product of his father. It's just one example of how like similar they are. You can see a lot of granddaddy and in dad, even though they were like after 18 years and they spent like whatever that is, 50 some years apart, they were very, very similar.
There you go. See?
Yeah, it's just very cool. Like that was a tangible way of seeing how close, like, yeah, how you just pick up things that your father did. I don't know. It's really, really interesting. So to think, yeah, that we're so different than our mother, we're so different than our father. It's when we get older that all of that stuff starts coming out. And like you look in the mirror and you're like, did I just say that? That's like totally what my mom would say, or that's totally what my grandma used to say. And I said I would never say something like that. And then you like sound like your parents. So it is ingrained in us.
There's definitely some truth to that. You know, some of that is environment and genetics combined together too. But yeah, you're right. Absolutely. That's very cool. That's interesting. Very interesting. Ed says, hey, awareness of where I learned the behavior. Blame was the improper term. That was a while ago. He was talking about when I said blame and he said blame. It's okay. You can remove yourself from home, but you can't remove the home from us. Ed's on fire. Ed should have his own quote book.
Yes.
Really should.
Yes.
I don't know what you call it. Ed tells it like it is. Ed gives you your daily dose. Ed's daily dose.
Well, he should write a book, and then he can, because anytime that I tell people that they should write a book, I always want them to write it the way that I want to read it. And they can put on the sides, like in the the margins and stuff. I love it when there's like, just like quotes there, or the page is done that it's like reading and it's like, and then there's like a fun quote in the middle of it. So anybody that's listening that wants me to read a book that they've written, please set it up that way.
Hey, how many people have you asked to write a book, by the way?
You know what? People that I find really interesting that like tend to say a lot of things that I'm like, man, that was really cool. Like Ed's one of them. He just like always has like these like little like insights, these little wisdom pieces that are just like, bop, bop. There you go. So they should just all be in a book. Bop, bop. Bop, bop. Yes. Yeah.
Oh, that's fun. Oh,
yeah. I don't tell everybody, but sometimes I just think that like, man, you got so much to offer. Just put it in a book.
Well, that's what we try to hear. We try to offer stuff on the First Day Podcast. We have a book club every Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. You can always join us. It's not a secret. We'd love to have you. We're talking about family. You know, family has a system. How does the system work? Where does it come from? How does it know to operate? Well, the truth is, it doesn't have like a CPU. It doesn't have a computer at the center of it. You know, it's not a internet. There isn't a bunch of, although physically they don't exist, a bunch of links, networks, and cables. It's not like that, but, you know, ethereally, they are out there. Just, you can't grab them, but they do exist. The relationship I have to my brothers, and each brother, one is different than the other. They are. And this is where the classic parental, I love all my children equally. This is I'm not trying to get anybody in trouble, but it's a classic overstatement, I think is what it is. That's what it's an overstatement, because to be human is to feel affection, and when there's more than one person involved, you love your husband, you love your wife, you love your partner. That's easy because that's the one. Unless you're in a polygamous relationship, then that's what it's like to, have children that you love, because you have multiple people to love at once. So it's very complicated. You're like, I have to share my love amongst all these people. Not easy to do. And I think we do a disservice. I really do. I think we do a disservice when we say, I love all my children equally. It's a nice blanket statement to say, and I'm not asking for somebody to pick anybody. Not asking anybody to pick the favorite kid that they have. What I am asking is that we can have a more honest conversation about the relations that we have with one another, even if they are family members. They are different. Me and Josh, we have a different relationship than me and Matthew, and they have a different relationship than I have with either one of them. They are all unique. If every person's unique, every relationship's unique. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah. But I think when a mother says that, I think they mean that. Like, I can't speak because I'll never have children. But listen, I think that they love them equally.
That's not the point.
Well, no, but I don't think it's like a blanket statement that they don't agree with it. I think it's they love them equally but differently. Like,
right, but
love people for different reasons, but you love them equally.
Again, but that's not the point.
Well, what is the point then?
the point is having more honest conversations about familial relations and how communication works and how the systems work so that we can have a better understanding. If people want to make blanket statements about their family, that's fine, to avoid, I got to tell you, I'm kind of loving your sister a little bit more right now than I am your brother. It's just true. I got to be honest. I'm not asking for a comparison. What I am asking is for everyone to understand every relationship is unique. If Mr. Rogers said, every person is special, Mr. Rogers would always, you're all very special. And he really meant that. Every person is unique and special. Then every relationship, any relation, siblings and parents and everybody, they're all unique. They are relations that have never existed before. Even though there's been a billion relationships, there's been a million songs written about relationships and all that stuff, every relationship is a new and unique experience, even if there are some similarities in some of the actions that happen. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
No?
Yes. No, I understand.
What's happening?
So communication is, but that's, I feel like that's key in any relationship, not just family or every human beings just have to be able to learn how to communicate.
Yes.
With everybody. Employers, employees, coworkers, strangers. Yeah.
Every day that goes by, it's more and more important to me. And I believe so clearly in it. And every time we have a struggle or where communication didn't go right or as planned or wasn't comfortable, those are learning experiences. And it reminds me, like, I don't want to be doing this. Why are we like this? We've had this vaccine thing going on that's been hanging over us, and that led to some poor efforts, certainly on my part, like not to communicate properly. And it's like, oh, this is depressing. I'll just text. I don't want to talk. It's the same thing every day. Yeah, it's understandable. These are human feelings that happen, but not the proper way to keep the communication quality. We got to keep the communication quality and honest, authentic. It's so key to me. You guys do whatever you want out there, but if you want to live your life with a bunch of surface interactions forever, boy, that sounds like a wasted life to me. It really does.
Absolutely. But you also like especially with us, I think overall we do a really good job with communication. I know that
Yes.
I'm the one that struggles way more in this relationship with the communication portion of it. But
it's not fair, but
what do you mean?
I'll let you say whatever you want to say. So yeah, go ahead.
What do you mean it's not fair? You're a much better communicator than I am.
I'm getting better every day, just like you are.
Oh,
we
yeah.
all love each other equally.
Yes. I'm not comparing it in like I actually like aspire to be more like you. So I have opened up in
no
this.
No one's ever said that on the record. That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah, well, now it's recorded, so you can go back to YouTube or to our podcast and listen to it. But it's true. I aspire to be more like you when it comes to our communication and everything. And I know that I communicate, like if any ex-boyfriends are listening to this podcast episode, they're like, oh yeah, she's not really a talker about her emotions or anything. So I'm doing like way better. But there's also sometimes that you just like, I feel like if you're really good at communicating all the time, sometimes you do need to just be like, I don't know how to express this right now. I just need a breather just to like, I just need not a break, but like just a please, let's not talk about this right now until I can get everything put together.
Of course. Sure. Yeah. There shouldn't be
So,
any
like,
absolutes. Yeah.
But I think that's fine. If there's like points that you're just like, I'm just going to kind of mail this one in and just like text a little bit and not get right into it. Cause you know that if it's a serious thing, you'll get back in, you will, and you should get into a conversation about it.
Yay! I support that. I do. That makes me very happy. I love hearing that. We are live on the First Day podcast, and it's Father's Day, by the way, Leanne. Did you know that?
Yeah, that's what I said in the beginning.
I know, but if people weren't here before, they might have missed you here the first
hey
time,
guys. So. Again, it's Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to my father, to your father, to Josh, to all of our fathers that are listening. Wow. Ed. Yes.
That's very
Patrick,
good.
Our book club fathers.
Book club fathers. Ed's got some comments here. Ed says, I think you can love children equally. Well, Ed is a parent.
There we go.
But different children might need to be treated differently to prosper. Love can be expressed differently. But I can still respect your point, Mike. Well, thank you, Ed. I respect your points too. And I see your points. Hope you believe me, Mike, when I say I love you and Leanne equally. Well,
we know that's not true. Come on. Just fess up. You like me more. Come on.
It's obvious. Everybody does. It should be that way anyway. So. But I do believe you, Ed, only because you're an authentic person. And I actually have to know you, though. See, this is how our relationship, mine and Ed's relationship goes. You know, I didn't know Ed, and I've met him through this book club and through the sugar club thing with Dave Wolf and Judy Wolf. Hope they're doing well there. Judy and Dave, hi.
Guys.
Hope you guys are doing well. And as we've evolved, got to know each other a little bit. I mean, me and Ed have never sat down and just talked for hours. That's never happened because I've never met him in person, first off. We never even sat on a Zoom call and, rapped. But I still understand how he operates because of the way he speaks, the way he comments on the show, the way he talks in the book club verbally. We can see him with his body language and everything, and that he doesn't want. And this is really important too because he's shared his past experiences with us too. I was there for Ed's talk in that group that one time. He told, we learned everything about his past, a lot, and Ed shared honestly. That's honest communication. It's with integrity. So I know that when Ed says something, he's been able to create a communication line here in this system between us that I don't have any doubt about what he says in terms of its believability or honesty. It's genuine and it's true because of what has been established from the start. And this is the big thing about family systems is establishing poor routines, poor communication lines, bad habits that happen that don't even seem bad, bad, right and wrong, good and bad. These are awful ways to really label things. They really are. But you get busy. You're a single mom. You try to raise 3 kids like my mom did, single mom with 3 boys and trying to pay for everything. She's working all day and she's got 3 boys, little dudes. She's going to get pissed sometimes. There's not going to be the ideal handling of every behavioral episode. So, unfortunately, some poor or
less than ideal
routines get established that are not healthy. Let's use healthy. That's good. Not healthy for the long term. And unfortunately, when you're a child, you soak everything up. And I'm talking from when you're born all the way, until you're 18, And you'll always be impacted by things, but you really soak it up those first 12 to 13 years. You really do. This is proven. We know this. You lived it. If you're a human being who's older, you would probably know that, well, yeah, I really just soaked everything up back then. Maybe you didn't realize you did. I don't know, but I do know that to be true. So best intentions. A mother does the best she can. She's dealt a tough hand. She gets divorced. It's a challenging situation. She's trying to make the best of it, but things don't ideally flow out the way that they should on a regular basis in every action. And we are fallible human beings, so that's perfectly natural. What comes into play is trying to, and my mom did this too. She took us to therapy when I was 8 years old.
Yeah.
She's like, you're acting different. I'm going to take you to therapy. To try to fix what, like that, like I talked about earlier in the show with the imaginary scenario of the couple that comes in with the kid who's has behavior issues. So, and you try to fix what you think the issue is, but what it turns out, there could be something else entirely that is at the core of it, or part of that system needs to be restructured. That's a key part. A counselor tears things apart to restructure them properly, which can be very painful, the whole experience.
But it sounds fascinating because I feel like another thing that would happen is even as children and adults, and we all do it, is that you take things personally and then you hear things differently. And then you look from your own perspective of, like as the kid, then you may feel inferior to your big brother. And then you look at it because you're inferior to your big brother, you look at mom and dad, the way they treat the big brother differently. And even if they're not, even if the parents aren't treating anybody differently, you pick up on that because you have that internal issue. And so I feel like if you guys if everybody were to go to the therapy together, like whatever family it is, but making sure that, like you said, everybody is there, then you would get out. Oh, well, you do this and you say this, and then the parents will be like, I don't feel like I've ever done that. And then you can get into that in like a safe space. Because that happens I know that for me, that happens a lot in relationships. You are doing a very good job. Like, did I really say that? Like, let's go back to how you heard it, which is nice with the texting, because then I can look back and be like, oh, haha, no, you didn't say it the way I took it. But parents and kids don't have that because you're not typically texting your kids all the time, and so they're internalizing
how do you
things.
know? You don't have kids.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe they are. Maybe that's a new thing. I don't know.
It is. It could be.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Yes. But they internalize. Everybody internalizes things based on their own view. So that would be, yeah. I feel like family therapy should be something that's just kind of like a preventive, even if there isn't any kind of acting out yet, just like a preventative kind of like happy birthday, or like there's a holiday, like, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to give our family is going to go just for like our little like tune up for the year. And we're going to go talk to them. And that would be amazing.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Like we have a holiday that's called Family Day in February. I think it's in February. And it's just, they needed to give us another holiday. So they gave us Family Day, and it's a day that it's a Monday and everybody takes it off and spends it with their family. That would be fantastic. Family Day is a day of family therapy.
It would. That sounds very nice. It does.
Yeah.
Last year, my mom tried to organize us to go to like a family therapist. It was COVID, of course, but
brilliant.
I think it was earlier before COVID started. It could have been even before that. So maybe even 2019. Anyways,
okay.
But it never got put together. She did try, and I think she found some guy, but somebody didn't like that one guy, and then it just kind of fizzled out. But there was, I thought it was great. Yeah, I was really like, oh, this would be awesome.
Yeah.
We've never had family therapy. But some people believe it's too late,
Mm-mm.
Older people could be set in their ways,
Even if they can, at least there's a common ground that everybody can discuss it. And then even if you don't want to change, at least the communication is clear.
Yeah.
And it's you have a third person, like a third party that doesn't have the 40 years of family and Christmases and all of this stuff that's going on in childhood memories that may not even be real childhood memories. It's the way that we created these stories along the way. And they don't have that, so they can just hear what's actually happening and kind of piece everything back together.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. You don't need a counselor. Like, you could just talk to your family, by the way. I mean,
you could. Yes.
There's a lot of people that are afraid. They're afraid. They lack the courage. They feel like they don't want to cause a fight. They feel they don't know how there's going to be a response to certain things they might say. There's a lot of fear based in this.
Yeah.
But if it's your family, you should just say things honestly. But I understand why a counselor would be very important. You just explained that very well. Ed says, I remember thinking growing up, I thought my dad was perfect. Wow. Well, that's a high mark. Had all the answers. It was I was shocked the first time I found out he was not perfect. Yeah. I told my son early on, I am not perfect. Good for you, Ed. I will
Nice.
often make mistakes. My son told me, Dad, I know even when I make a mistake, he knows that I love him. To me,
Oh,
that was very powerful.
that's amazing. Yes. Yes. I think that's huge. That's a really good job, Ed. Happy Father's Day. You're doing a good job.
Yeah, there's very much a tendency for parents to try to feel they have to be perfect, to when they create a child. I got to be perfect on all fronts.
Mhm.
But that's just unfair to yourself. It's unfair to everybody involved. Never want to put yourself in that scenario if you can avoid it. You should be able to avoid it by recognizing that it doesn't exist. I don't even know why the word perfect exists. It ruins everything.
Yes.
It shouldn't even be a word,
Yeah.
a thing.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. And if we look at the challenges that we have as adults, and then it's fascinating, and I can't speak because I understand, like, being a parent, it is such a big responsibility, and it like anybody that kind of just goes into it just because they like want to buy cute baby clothes and like, oh, I love my husband, I want to have children. It is such a responsibility for the future. Like, it is so huge. And it's fascinating that we have these things where I'm not good enough, I'm not perfect, I'm looking for all of these things. And then we like perpetuate that onto our children. Like, it's just fascinating that we can't sit back and be like, hey, maybe instead of giving my children these same traumas and these same things, we can just let them understand. So Ed, you're doing an incredible job. I think that's super, super important that and yes, you do want to be, it's a balancing act just like anything else, because you do want your child to know that they can count on you. You want them to know that you're there, that if they need something, you're going to be strong enough to be able to do it. Like, you don't, there is that part of it, but perfectionism and trying to make them perfect, and only rewarding all of this, like, you got the A, and then if you got a B, like, why didn't you get the B? Like, I don't know. There's so much to it. I commend every father and mother out there. You guys are doing, if you're doing the best that you can, you're doing an amazing job.
Well, Leanne doesn't want to be one.
Absolutely not. No.
No kitties for us, guys.
No.
It'll be fine. The Gobier name is died. It's over. So is a hello name. That's it.
I know, it's so sad, actually. I was thinking about that. Oh well.
No, I'm just kidding. The
you know
Gobier
what?
name has lived on. My brother, Josh, you got 2 kids, so
Oh yeah.
the Gobier name will carry forth.
Yeah, you guys are good. We're not.
Hail Gobiers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. We'd like to joke on the show too, but we're here for you guys, and hopefully you found this episode informative and useful. I thought it was a very interesting conversation that provided a lot of areas that you guys can dive into on your own time and dig deep further to understand even more. And that's what we try to do in the show.
Yeah.
Ed, we thank you for your great comments.
Yes.
Josh, good to see you here. Anybody else who popped in here and there while we do the show? Great to have you aboard on the live stream. We're always live streaming the show every Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time. We're here, right, Leanne?
Yes, absolutely. And if you guys could, so we are over on Facebook and on YouTube. But if you guys could start watching on YouTube, or at least subscribe. If you're more comfortable watching on Facebook, that's fine. But if you could at least subscribe to our YouTube, because we're finding that there's more things that we're able to do with the channel once we hit certain numbers of followers. So we would really appreciate if you could do that for us, and share it. Like Mike was saying, a lot of people are reaching out to him. They reach out to me, not as frequently because I'm not on Twitter, but that they really like these episodes because they speak to, we're all dealing with the same stuff. So if you know of anybody that's human, just send it to them and let them know that we exist, because something will probably be there that will resonate with them. So I just thank you guys so much. We have such a great little community, and I'm so proud of you all.
If you know any humans,
yeah, that's it.
Know. I mean, that'd be great. We love humans.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I was going to say, like, if you know of anybody that's like struggling with a certain thing, but I'm like, every human has something that we're going through. Like I don't know any human that doesn't have something. Oh, good job. Okay, so you put the link in there.
I just popped in the live stream. I don't know if you can click on that or not, or copy and paste it. It should work. First Day Pod on YouTube. Very easy. Type it in the search and you'll find us.
Nice.
Give us a sub. Click the dingy bell. Let you know when we go live. It'll do everything. It does all the work for you. You don't have to do anything.
That's awesome.
That's it. You got to do one thing and then never have to do it again.
Awesome.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yay!
Okay.
Okay. Well, that's our show. It's the First Day Pod. Next week we'll be back because that's what we do.
We're here every week.
Yeah. What's next week? It's the end of June, and it'll be the week for 4th of July weekend, which is on a Sunday. 4th of July is on a Sunday this year. So.
Ooh, so what's gonna happen? Are we gonna be switching a date, or are we gonna?
I mean, it's 4th of July. It's America. I think we'll probably be off. Yes.
Or I might do it myself because half of our followers are Canadian.
Well, that's true. I think the Canadians should be represented on a day that's for Americans only. America! No, Canadians are welcome to celebrate the 4th too, but
we have the 1st, but that is
I know.
what then like
You
Thursday.
got Victoria Day. You guys have a lot of great stuff. We're all
We have our Independence Day though on the 1st, July 1st.
Canadian Independence Day is July 1st. That's interesting. They're so close together.
They are. It would have been nice if we could have just done them on the same day. But anyway, okay, we'll figure it out. We may not be here, but next week we definitely will be.
Which half am I? Ed, yeah, I don't know. You're Canadian side, I think. So, right?
Yeah, but does he have American? Maybe he's half and half. I don't know.
In Canada. I thought
He does live in Canada. Yes, but maybe he has.
I know he's Egyptian.
Yeah, but maybe he has family. Maybe he has dual citizenship. Ed, tell us. But I think you're Canadian. Well, you are Canadian, but I think you're only Canadian.
I think you're Canadian.
No, I know he's from Toronto. Sorry, I'm giving way too much information
that's
about
so
our
fun.
dear Ed.
He is Canadian. Thank you, Ed. Thank you. Well,
Yeah.
For Ed, myself, and Leanne, we'll be back next Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on YouTube. That's what we prefer. We are available on Facebook Live at the YouTube channel, First Day Pod. And, of course, our podcast listeners who are out there listening. We know you do listen, and we thank you for that. And if we could do anything for you, firstdaypod@gmail.com. Send us an email. We're happy to help. We're happy to be a part of anything that's positive, useful, informative, knowledge, wisdom, empowerment. All those things are great. So that's it. And I will say goodbye.
Bye, guys. Thank you. Bye.